What is up, guys? My name is Pocketcraft and welcome back to another Legendary Monday. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to get Black Kyurem, White Kyurem, as well as normal Kyurem easily in Cobblemon. And I don't know why these guys just decided that they wanted to start flying around, but it does look pretty epic. If you've watched any of my other Legendary guides, you'll know that these Pokemon don't spawn naturally in vanilla Cobblemon. So first you need to have the Aldemon's Data Pack and Resource Pack enabled. I'll have a link to that down in the description, and I just want to make sure you put it in both folders, Data Pack and Resource Pack, and then you go to Options, Resource Packs, and make sure that you have it selected here, otherwise this won't work. Then if you want to get these fusion forms, the first one you have to get is normal Kyurem, who unfortunately was just backing it up on us there a little bit. But normal Kyurem is an ultra rare spawn in any glacial biome. And now I'm going to give you quite a few tips about how to find ultra rare Pokemon further on in this episode, as well as how you can possibly even find shiny forms of these Pokemon. And he really just likes turning it around on us. But if you're excited about finding these Pokemon and are finding this helpful so far, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're really pushing to 100k subscribers and we'd love to have you as part of the team. But anyways, glacial biomes are the only place to find Kyurem. And as you're doing it, I would just make sure you always have the Pokenav mod enabled and bring the Pokenav with you, just so you can check the spawns in your area to make sure it's actually an area that Kyurem can spawn in. Now the tricky thing about these fused forms is you're going to need to find more legendaries than just Kyurem. If you want Black Kyurem, you're also going to need a Zekrom, and if you want White Kyurem, then you're also going to need a Reshiram. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to find each of these Pokemon as well. I'll give you their basic spawn conditions just like Kyurem, and then I'll give you some tips on how to actually narrow down and find them more easily. So Zekrom, pretty simple, he's just an ultra rare spawn in any mountain biome. So pretty simple, we're in a mountain biome right here, so I can open up the Pokenav mod, and if I scroll down here in the ultra rare, you'll see that there's a 1.34% of finding Zekrom. Now mountain biomes are interesting because there's a lot of different ones, and they typically have a lot of different ultra rare Pokemon. So in the Stony Peaks here, you can find tons of different legendaries and pseudo legendaries. So this is an awesome place to hunt if you just want to get a bunch of Pokemon. But if you want just Zekrom, I would explore in a couple different mountain biomes, use the Pokenav, and see if there's one where maybe there's less legendary spawning, so you have a better chance of just finding Zekrom. And then Reshiram, a little bit more difficult, he spawns in nether basalt biomes. So that's the only place you're going to be able to find him. Luckily, there's less ultra rare Pokemon there, but it is obviously a little bit more dangerous because it's in the nether. As far as finding ultra rare Pokemon more easily, there are a couple of different strategies. Now this won't work for Reshiram because Reshiram has to be below Y level 127, but this will work for Zekrom and Kyurem. You can build a giant sky platform high up in the sky, and you're going to want to make this about 60 blocks by 60 blocks at a minimum. I haven't completely filled it in here, but if you do, it's pretty massive and it's super effective. As you can see, there's already a Miltank spawning over there. But if you fill this in completely, you'll have Pokemon spawning all over the place. And then what you can do is just take a sword and knock these Pokemon out, or just push them off the edge here, which does feel a little bit evil. And there's slow-mo falling Tauros. Just gonna pretend you guys didn't see that. But as you can see, Pokemon will continue to cycle in really quickly, and it'll obviously be more if this is filled in completely, but you can just take them out over and over again, and this actually cycles through the spawns a lot more quickly than down on the ground. And you could obviously do this on the ground, but there's gonna be obstacles and trees and things that make it a little bit more difficult, whereas here you can just go through and do it quickly, and this will allow you to get more spawns in at a much quicker rate, allowing you to find any ultra rare Pokemon much more easily. Another common strategy that works well for finding ultra rare Pokemon is to build a large rail system in the biome that you are hunting for. That way you can just get on this rail system, and you want to make it really large, circle throughout different spawn chunks, so that the Pokemon in the biome you're looking for will respawn very quickly, and this will allow you to filter through spawns a lot faster, just like the sky platform, and you'll have a better chance of finding ultra rare Pokemon. What I always recommend to people is you can just pick the biome that you want to hunt in. So for example, if we're in the Stony Peaks or in the Badlands, and then just do things you would already do while playing Minecraft. So mine for some resources, train up your Pokemon to get to level 100, build a special farm, or just a cool build that you've been wanting to implement in your world to make things look nicer. You can look on my survival guide series for a bunch of different farms that are helpful in Cobblemon, or my Pokemon Center build, which I'll link in the description if you want something cool to liven up your world. These don't make the Pokemon spawn any faster, but they make the process more enjoyable, and I've found most of my rare Pokemon while I'm just doing cool things like that, and it's way more fun than just running around in circles for hours until the Pokemon you want spawns in. So now you know how to find Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kyurem, but catching them can be very difficult, and then you also need to know how to fuse them into White Kyurem or Black Kyurem. So I'm going to talk about how to fuse them, how you can possibly find shiny versions of these, and then make sure to stick around the end because I'm also going to give you tips on how to catch these Pokemon, which can be really difficult, and you definitely don't want to fail them with how rare they are. So you want to make sure to check that out, but let's get into it. So once you've finally caught these Pokemon, you want to take Kyurem out and right click it with an Echo Shard. At this point, it will be able to evolve into White Kyurem or Black Kyurem. And typically, I think it shows you just the top one in your party. So whether Reshiram or Zekrom is the top one in your party. So right now it's showing White Kyurem, but if we right click it again, you'll see that Black Kyurem also shows up, and now you can just evolve it into either one. So you can do a double Echo Shard, but I also think that if you were to remove Zekrom or Kyurem from your party, you'd be fine. Or obviously, if you're only going for one of these and you only caught Zekrom or you only caught Reshiram, then you would be fine. Then you can just click the evolve button, and this will obviously evolve it into the fused form, which looks epic. And if you want to go back to normal Kyurem, for example, if you want both forms and you only caught one Kyurem rather than two, you can right click it again, and this allows you to evolve it back into normal Kyurem. And then if you want the other version, you just right click it again with an Echo Shard, and now you can evolve it into White Kyurem. Now these Pokemon have some incredible shinies, and so I know you want one on your team. It is possible, but it's going to be very difficult. These Pokemon are not shiny locked, they just have the normal shiny rate in Cobblemon. And now if you know much about shiny hunting in Cobblemon, or you've seen some of my other tutorials, you can change the shiny rate in the config file, which would obviously make it easier. But I know some people don't like that. And it's not super targeted either. You'd probably find a bunch of other shinies before you find this because it's an ultra rare spawn. So if you want a shiny Kyurem, my best suggestion is to use the Cobblemon Unchained mod. This allows you to chain Pokemon like in normal Pokemon games. So if you keep catching Kyurem or knocking it out, it will increase your chain, and this will increase the chance of finding Kyurem as well as increase the shiny rate of Kyurem specifically. Now obviously this will take a lot of work because it is an ultra rare spawn, but if you're dedicated, if you want this shiny, this is probably your best way to do it. And now I do actually want to test, if we right click this with an Echo Shard, we can get a shiny Kyurem even if we don't have shiny Reshiram. So my best bet, go for a shiny Kyurem rather than a shiny version of the other Pokemon, and this is probably going to be the easiest way to get a shiny fused version, which looks super epic. And now I do want to test something here. So we have a shiny Zekrom right here with the green tail, and let's take out a normal Kyurem and see what happens if we try to fuse them. So I'm going to put Reshiram in the PC here so it doesn't get in the way. So now the only Pokemon it can fuse with is our shiny Zekrom, and if we right click it here to evolve it, you'll see it has the option for Black Kyurem but not the shiny version. So having a shiny Reshiram or Zekrom will not matter, you need shiny Kyurem. And again, I don't know why he keeps showing us that angle, but he turned around here. Now these Pokemon are ultra rare spawns and their catch rate is really high, so it's also important that you actually know how to catch them. Otherwise, by the time you find a shiny, there's a good chance you'll fail it, and that would be like the saddest thing in the world. So I want to make sure to give you these tips as well.
We'll use Regigigas for example because he's massive, which makes things a little bit more fun. So I recommend when you enter the battle to start off always with a quick ball, unless of course if you have a master ball you can just go ahead and use that. But if you have a master ball, you're not really worried about how to catch the Pokemon, so that doesn't really apply here. But if you don't have a master ball, throw a quick ball your first turn. It has a ×5 catch rate, and a lot of times you'll get lucky and catch it on the first throw. And we'll see if we do here. Ooh, we almost got it there. So if you don't catch it on the quick ball, that's where we need more strategy. So I recommend always bringing a Pokemon with false swipe. Glade is my go-to for a couple of reasons. He has the ability Sharpness, which makes false swipe do more damage. He also has a pretty high physical attack stat, which helps with this as well. Then typically I recommend trying to get a high IV Glade and then maxing out its attack stat, which I haven't done here for this tutorial. But if you do that with EVs, this is going to be the most effective method. And then put a move like Hypnosis on it, or get another Pokemon with Stun Spore so you can get a status effect, which will also make it easier to catch the Pokemon. As far as other team members, you're just going to want some high level Pokemon that you can switch into if Glade gets knocked out to buy you some time. And then I would usually recommend bringing some max revives as well, so that if Glade gets knocked out and the Pokemon isn't at 1 HP, you can revive them and continue with the process. Then at that point, you just want to false swipe it down to 1 HP and give it a status condition. And now Glade isn't the only Pokemon that you can use for this. There's other Pokemon with false swipe. Ninjask is one, Alolan Marowak is one, Scyther, Caesar. There's a couple Pokemon out there. Glade's one of my favorite. I feel like it's one of the most useful, and Breloom is usually the best in normal Pokemon games, but Breloom can't can't learn False Swipe in Cobblemon, so it's not nearly as useful here. Once you get the Pokemon to 1%, like I said, you want to give it a status condition, and a lot of times Hypnosis is helpful for the main reason that if you are before turn 10, you can use a Dream Ball, which will have 4 times effectiveness if the Pokemon is asleep. So this is going to be your best bet before turn number 10. If the battle gets to turn number 10, then you can go ahead and use a Timer Ball, and this will be the same effectiveness, and it's a little bit cheaper to craft than a Dream Ball. Now, once you're to this point, you can just keep following the same process, making sure they have a status condition, throwing either a Dream or Timer Ball based on the situation, and if you do that, you should be able to catch your legendary Pokemon without too much difficulty.
Well, there you have it. That's how to get every Kyurem form and their shiny forms in Cobblemon. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my Cobblemon Survival Guide series linked right here, where I teach you absolutely everything you need to know about Cobblemon. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.